Girls, what was the best flirting technique someone did to you? Story 1. My first boyfriend came into the store where I was working and just straight up told me he had seen me through the window and needed to run home to clean up. Put on something nice so he could come back and ask me on a date. It was super endearing. Edit to add, he didn't watch me through the window lol. Just saw me in passing and wanted to ask me out. This was well before dating apps where you basically had to ask in person. He was within my age range, nice smile, and just had a good energy. Also, his secondary flirting technique worked just as well. He brought me a book on our second date because I had mentioned in passing that I love to read. He was good at making me feel heard. Story 2. I don't know if it's the best, but it's the most memorable. I was at the gym and had been honestly taking things to the extreme for a while, and not listening to my body. I suddenly got very dizzy and my sight became white. On the realization that I was about to pass out, I slowly lowered myself down to the floor. One of the guys working out came swooping in to grab me and prevent my head from hitting the floor. He lay me down and tried to get me to remain conscious, asking me all sorts of questions that required some concentration, like what day of the week it is and who is the president. When he saw that I was okay and recovering, his questions started getting flirty. What's my name? What's my number? Now that he's become my knight in shining armor, can he take me out on a date sometime? It really made me laugh and feel better just by him being so lighthearted about it. He got my number. Story 3. My former fiancé went 100% cheesy pickup lines, but in the goofiest way. He was nervous and I guess had no clue what to say, so he went for broke lol. It went from hello how are you to a cheesy dad joke why couldn't the bicycle stand up on its own to the cheesy pickup lines taps pockets like he's looking for something. I lost my number, can I have yours? Although I could tell he was nervous, he had an air of confidence that I was drawn to and he had a great smile. Edit, wow, I did not think this story would blow up the way it did. Thank you very much for the love. And my first ever award. And yes, the punchline to the terrible joke is it was too tired. Story 4. Years and years ago I worked at Florist, where the owner illegally hired mostly Mexican girls in the States to learn English. They went to school, but worked for a rate that wasn't even minimum wage. It was super shady, but I loved working with them. We would make up little games to teach me Spanish, them English. Anyway, this Latin guy comes in one day and one of the girls is helping him. He wants to get a bouquet for a girl he likes, so she takes him around the store, showing him what she thinks are the best flowers. She wraps it all up for him, and right as he pays, he writes his number on the paper and hands them to her. I was floored, it was so smooth. She was completely unfazed, like, oh, that's how men are like where I'm from, men don't do that here. I was like, nope. Edit, I used nonplussed originally instead of unfazed. In my neck of the woods it does mean unfazed, but yes, I'm aware it also means surprised. Thank you Reddit for this interesting regional grammar lesson. Story 5. We were classmates in college, and one morning, I called him on my way to school. I lived over an hour away, and we usually called and chatted while I drove, and complained about a headache. When I got to school, he was there with ibuprofen, water, and one of those yogurt parfait thingies. I also made a comment once about my eyeliner running out, and he brought one to school the next day. Found out from his brother after we started dating that he had spent like an hour at the store asking the makeup employees for the right one, since he had no idea what an eyeliner pen was. We've been married for 4 years now and he's still a total sweetheart. Edit, holy crap, my inbox has exploded. Thank you for the awards. I'm reading the comments to my husband right now lol. But to clarify to those saying this could be creepy behavior, it definitely could in a different situation. I don't recommend doing this with someone you don't have a good base with. If you like to do nice things for people, don't make it seem like you expect anything in return. We already had a pretty solid friendship and he was honestly the best friend I'd ever had. He never made any advances on me or put any pressure on our relationship. I used to wonder if he was just nice or if he actually liked me. That's how good he was at being chill. I ended up confessing my feelings to him a few months later. I come from an abusive family, so having him be there for me, listen to me, respect my boundaries, etc. was mind-blowing. He's been a great partner and I'm very thankful for people like him. Story 6. The third time we hung out I went to his house. We were both in grad school and were talking in his room, but I was exhausted from school and my 2 jobs. I was sitting on his bed and fell asleep. When I woke up he had put a blanket on me and was playing beautifully on the piano. I was so embarrassed cause I had drooled all over his pillow and surprised that he was so kind about the drool and not creepy about me being passed out on his bed. We've been married for almost 4 years now and been together 8. Story 7. I'm not a girl, but my girlfriend is, and she just about did the smoothest thing on me during our first get-together over some drinks. We were both unsure whether or not it was a date or just people chilling at a bar getting to know each other. She just moved into town and was looking for some company, and I liked her attitude. Over the course of the evening it became clear that we were at least a bit interested. But she was getting really drunk. Being the gentleman I am, I decided not to try anything. However, then she started rubbing my foot, asking whether I like her feet. And I was like, yes, can I have one? She literally gave me one of her shoes and said, I'll pick that one up later this week at your place, then got up and left. She's currently giggling next to me as we just woke up. Wonderful lady. Story 8. A friend of mine in college was over 6 tall, whereas I'm 5'12". I forget if he asked me to meet him in the library for help or if we ran into each other there, but he said he couldn't figure out one of the computer search systems. This was 1997, so they were still pretty clunky. I agreed to show him how to use it, and as he took a seat in front of a computer, he casually said, you know, if we were dating and I wanted to kiss you, I could just sit down and it'd be the perfect height. Because I was stupidly fixated on a mutual friend of ours at the time, I didn't go for it. My reply was that this was the wrong set of computers, and the computers he needed were over there, which was true. And we went to those other computers, I helped him out, and we were never awkward after that. I've thought about this a lot over the years. He kept it very casual, so it wasn't a big deal and it didn't feel like he was putting me on the spot. The way he worded it, I didn't actually have to reject him outright, I was able to just talk past it. To this day, I appreciate that it was smooth but not uncomfortable. Of any of the flirting I've been on the receiving end of, that was my favorite, and I wish I'd given him a shot. Story 9. Not flirting. We're both flirty by nature and had both recently sworn off romantic relationships. We'd gone to high school together but weren't well acquainted. Just ended up being Facebook friends. I wanted to go kayaking but couldn't get them on my roof myself. Put it out there. He comes over, loads up my car. We spend weeks kayaking and just hanging out. Being friends. Nothing flirty or romantic about it. One day he bought me lunch and I was suspicious that maybe this was a date. But I didn't want to ruin things so didn't bring it up. But got used to having him around and didn't really want him to leave, but my condo wasn't big enough for both of us. So then we bought a house together. Then he asked me to marry him. And I was all, you're my fiancé. I didn't even know you were my boyfriend. Been married a little over a year. Our baby is due in the next couple weeks. Hello, the editor here. That last story was too cool. Like and subscribe for more. Story 10. I remember when I was a cashier, some pretty attractive guy came into the store on rollerblades asking to return something. The interaction was pretty short, but it was pretty obvious. Strong eye contact was first thing. He asked me 1 or 2 questions trying to get to know more about me. I wasn't really interested because I was with someone, so I just indulged the questions to be polite. As I completed the form to let him return this item, the last thing required was his phone number. Then, teasingly, the store doesn't really need that. You're asking because you want my number, don't you? I chuckled and showed him the line for his phone number. He signed his number and said, well, hopefully you call me anyway, and rolled out the store. Yes, it's often annoying when people flirt with the cashiers or wait staff of any customer-facing position. But that's because you're not giving them a choice, they have to be nice to you. This guy's approach wasn't awkward. He was just happy, all smiles. He expressed interest but didn't put pressure or linger. The suggestion was there that he was interested with the flirty eye contact. But the way everything was phrased left me with options to say yes or no or just ignore, which is exactly what I did. I suppose it's a little hard to break down the components that made it good flirting. I'll try. Eye contact. Looked me directly in the eyes, but not for an amount of time that was creepy. It didn't feel like a staring contest or like he was checking out my body. He was smiling the whole time. He was a happy person from the looks of it, so the interaction was already easier. He seemed friendly in his posture and facial expression. Confidence. Talking was no big deal. Just a happy person returning an item and leaving. Verbal confirmation that he was flirting. Eye contact alone isn't always going to be a great judge. Sometimes you just assume that friendly people are friendly. He wasn't subtle or overt. The attitude was just like, yeah, flirting a bit. He was flirting with someone age appropriate. What he said wasn't overtly sexual or desperate. That's the smoothest flirting experience I've had without already being in a relationship with someone. The best flirting while already in a relationship. My boyfriend at the time went to a hardware store. They sell the best lollipops at the checkout, so I'd always get one. One time he came home and surprised me with one. Want something sweet. Shows me lollipop. Yes, I want some sugar first. Taps his lips. Story 11. I was about a year out of a bad divorce. Just finished a night shift. Decided I wanted to take my mom out to lunch. My mom looks young and she's pretty cool. We're sitting in a food court eating and I noticed this really pretty young lady just staring at me. I think she was daydreaming but couldn't tell because it was a deadpan stare. I said, "Mom, there's this gorgeous chick sitting behind you staring at me." "Mom, well, why don't you go talk to her?" Being smart and not meaning it seriously at all. Me, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Walked on up to her and, in no uncertain terms, told her she's beautiful, I'd like to get to know her, and if things work out, I'd like to marry her. She took my number and called me that evening. She said that's the most brutally honest anyone has ever been with her. We've been married 16 years now. Story 12. We were 17 from the same high school and had been flirting over texts for a while. TBH, I didn't know if I wanted to date him, but he was really sweet all the time and I liked his attention, I guess. Anyway, he asked me on a date to go ice skating. He was so hopeful, I just couldn't say no. We had previously talked about romantic movie scenarios, and I foolishly told him that I would kiss him if it started snowing the night of the ice skating, knowing damn well the chance of snow at that time was highly unlikely. Fast forward to me and him ice skating a few days later without a cloud in the night sky. He stopped me at the side of the ice field under the light of an old school gas lamp and reached in his pocket and throws up white paper confetti like we just won the Super Bowl, lol. Cutest thing ever. Kissed him gladly, and we ended up dating for a few years. He had sat the day before and made confetti out of printer paper because he knew it wasn't going to snow. That was the romantic movie scenario of my life. Story 13. A few years ago I was sitting on a bench in the city center. I'm an American living in UK. There was a guy walking. I could sense him looking at me. We briefly locked eyes for a sec, but I turned and stared forward. He walks past me a few steps, stops, turns to me, stares down and says, "Cheer up, love, you are beautiful," gives me a half-cocked, cheeky smile, and just locks eyes with me for a sec, then says nothing and walks away. I about melted in the seat, but that was it. It sounds silly, but the way it played out struck a really deep chord with me. I have never dated anyone that has done anything to get my heart racing like that, so random. He wasn't spectacular looking, but the whole ordeal made him so much more attractive than any hot guy walking down the street. He did it so flawlessly, and so confident, and it wasn't slimy or rude, it was very endearing and genuine. That guy will be forever etched in my memory. Story 14. When I was 13, I was really insecure about my height. I was taller than all the boys in my class, and the girls in my class constantly told me that I can't date because I'm too tall for him. First day of school, there is a new boy that all the girls like, and he's one of the shortest guys in our class. I was probably like 10 centimeters taller than him. I liked him. He was cute and funny, but my friends told me that I was too tall for him. Funnily enough, he liked me back, and the girls told him that I was too tall for him. He comes over to me one day and says he wants to show me a magic trick. He told me to hold both of his hands, and then he stood up on his tippy toes and said, and poof, you're my girlfriend. Whenever anyone commented on our height after that, we just held hands and he stood on his tippy toes. I knelt once, but then everyone thought I was going to blow him, so we stuck with him just standing up. Anyway, it's been 8 years and we both get butterflies when we see each other. We're not together as we went to different schools, but our school has a fair every 2 years and we meet up every time to talk. He's taller than me now, so I'm the one on my tippy toes.